Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, before I start my presentation, I would like to thank PPD Miri for this opportunity for me to present my action research. In conjunction to the Action Research Challenge ARC PPD Miri for e-Kolokium PPD Miri 2020. The title of my action research is The Use of Timeline Strategies to Improve Year 5 Students' Pre-Writing. I'm Jenny MARTO, representing my school SK St. Joseph Miri. This is my action research outline. There are reflection in teaching and learning, research focus, and research objectives. For my reflection in teaching and learning, I have found out that most of my students already have their prior knowledge, meaning they already know how to use the tenses. They are also good in telling stories, but a little bit problematic in writing, mainly in section C. No wonder writing is a complicated skill because it's not only an individual skill, but it also comprises other skills such as spelling, grammar, vocabulary, linking expressions, and task accomplishment. I also found out that my students are struggling in writing, regardless many ways I have tried. And based on the progressive test 2 postmortem, we have found out that the critical problem among our students is their grammar use. For my research focus, I'm going to discuss about the 7 step-to-step guidelines to help students apply the timeline strategies. And then I will discuss about an intervention of 60 minutes of writing lessons and 30 minutes of assessment. These are my research objectives. They are to increase students' performance in writing and to increase students' interest in learning to write. The target group of my action research is 25 students in Year 5B who are 12 female and 13 male. They are all considered as mixed ability students. From this action research outline, I can conclude here that writing should be viewed as a process, but not as a product, and the skills need to be learned strategically, as cited in Lin's 2005, page 98. This is my action research implementation. There are research plan, concept definitions, and type of questions and assessment. In my research plan, I'm going to discuss about my preliminary data collection and observation and 7 step-to-step strategies in the pre-writing stage. Let's see my preliminary data. This preliminary data is based on the Progressive Test 2 2020 result for paper 2 writing. And from here, we can see that most of the students got grade C, D, and E in their paper 2. As I asked around, the teacher said that they had tried many ways, but still the students show same result. And based on the postmortem prepared by the school English panel, it shows that the most critical problem in the writing is actually the grammar use, mainly tenses use. Next, I'm going to talk about the concept definitions. There are writing skills, teaching strategies to write, and pre-writing strategies. Writing skills are the skills that help the students to express and communicate feelings, thoughts via writing words. And based on H2000, it's a product of strategies, which are goal setting, ideas organization, drafting, reading, and reviewing. Meanwhile, Husna, Zainil, and Rosimela 2013 says that writing difficulties that has been faced by the students are mainly about the ideas, grammar, vocabulary, spelling, and punctuation. For teaching strategies to write, it is defined that it's a strategy. A strategy is a set of establishing practices to achieve preset expectation and goals based by EL Code 2007. And O'Malley 1996, page 149, it says that strategies can help to develop writing. And for pre-writing strategies, according to O'Malley 1996, page 149, as cited in Kusumawati 2017, there are 2 writing strategies, which are pre-writing strategies and the writing itself as the final product. Graham and Sandmel 2011 states there are some activities in the pre-writing strategies such as planning, writing, revising, and writing for purpose. Next, for the type of questions and assessment, I have derived one set of questions from section C, which requires the students to write an essay based on picture and word stimuli, and it's taken from a topic from year 5, which is self-protection. Next, I would like to discuss about the implementation itself, which is the highlight of the presentation today. There are test 1, intervention, and test 2. Let's see test 1. This is the test 1 result. And from the test 1, I found out that one student didn't complete his essay. When I asked him why, he said he was not interested in writing and had no motivation to finish his task. And I found out that most of them got grade B and C because they didn't write using the correct timeline and they mixed the tenses used, especially the simple present tense and the simple past tense. Next, we move on with the intervention. For this intervention, I have introduced the 7 step-to-step of timeline strategies. Step 1, the students have to decide the timeline, whether it is in the present, past, or future. And here I would like always remind them to stick to one type of tense, which is simple past tense. For step 2, the students need to identify the action verbs related to the pictures with help from suggested words. And step 3, they need to list and convert, where they have to list all of the action verbs. Then they need to convert or change the action verbs to the appropriate timeline. Then circle the words. And here, I always remind my students that not all of the words need to be converted. Step 4, construct. Here, the students need to write simple sentences using the circled action verbs just now. And then after that, they need to reread and keep track the word limit, because in section C, they are required to write a word limit of 80 and 100 words. In step 5, they need to organize. In here, from the rest of the steps before, they didn't have to number the sentences. But in this part, they need to number the sentences and then assign them in paragraphs, which are introduction, content, and closure. Next, they need to connect the ideas between sentences and paragraphs to make the sentences and the paragraphs make sense. And interesting too. In step 6, they need to check and make sure the ideas are organized and connected nicely and make sure the action verbs are written correctly. And finally, in step 7, they need to rewrite their draft and come up with their final writing product. Next, the test 2. In this part, I have to show the difference between test 1 and test 2 results to see the increment or the difference between test 1 and test 2. You can see here, test 1 is in blue and test 2 is in orange. From these results, I found out that there is an increment in students' performance based on grades, especially in grade A and B. Grade D had moved to grade C, and this one student was the student who didn't complete his essay as expected. Just now, I have told during the first part of the presentation. And after the intervention, he got some ideas to write simple sentences that had moved him to grade C. These are the differences between the test 1 and test 2. Right? The participants are named anonymously, right? And then from these results or the marks, I found out that grade C shows little increment, but their marks have increased. Let's see the students' outcomes. This is Sam's work. The one on the left is for the test 1, and the one on the right is for test 2. As you can see from here, that the mistakes are being reduced. Something happens to Val. You can see the difference on the left and on the right. This is Stephen. Stephen has impressed me a lot because at first in test 1 he made a lot of mistakes, but he have shown very big difference because he have shown changes in the behavior of learning how to write. And I think he had found the way how to write. Then he had shown very good progress here. This is Dan's work. same thing happens to Jen too. The left and the right shows the reduce of mistakes. Sarah too, left and the right shows um, the reduce in mistakes. She had actually um, impressed me too because you can see the difference that she has learned a lot from the timeline strategies that she had learned during the intervention. Next part, I'm going to discuss for the discussion part, that which I divided into two, which is observation and discussion, and suggestion and recommendations. Um, After the intervention, I found out that the students are more alert with the action verbs used and tend to be more careful in their writing. Even though they took more time, but they tried to plan their writing. And they even asked more questions, and this had increased the students' participation and interest. This technique helps the weaker students to write better, but it is not very useful for the excellent students as they are more comfortable to write freely without guidance. And for the intermediate students, there is a slight difference in their marks and grades, but their test too shows there is quite a difference in the number of mistakes, as I have shown in the students' outcomes just now. I also found that sometimes the students got stuck in the middle of the process of intervention. So it's important for the teachers to give positive feedback all the way to encourage them to keep on the interest to learn. They had problems with the irregular verbs too. That comes to the next part, which is suggestions and recommendations, where if possible in the future research, there will be more time so that the students are given more time to develop their skills in their writing. And teachers can modify this technique or this strategy according to the students' other needs, as I have told just now. If they have problems with the irregular verbs, then the teacher just modify this so that it suits the students' needs. And for next research, research can focus on how to help the students develop their ideas to write by asking WH questions and use mind maps to generate ideas. Thank you for listening. That's the end of my presentation.